So now most of us, when we start a freight broker business, we're still working a full-time job. And the idea here is to say, hey, I'm going to work the business for a period of time until I can get it up to the point where it can sustain itself, and then I'll walk away from my job. And what we soon find out is that it's a monumental task to try to split time between the job and the business. And what usually ends up happening is the business gets very little time and the job dominates your time, so the business can never get off the ground. So what some of us do, a very small percentage of us, is we quit the job before we ever start the business. Now, there are definitely some things that we should consider before making such a decision, because it's a very strategic decision, not an emotional decision. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about 3 things that you need to consider before you quit your job. So let's get into the business. So now, just in case this is your first time here, my channel is all about sharing the challenges and successes of small business ownership through the eyes of a freight broker. So if you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, you're definitely in the right place. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and then hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss anything. And then if you want to learn more about the freight broker business, check out my free 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works, link in the description. So before we get started, I want to make sure that we're on the same sheet of music. One of the most irresponsible things that I think you can do is to go out and quit your job without having a strategic plan in place. And even with a plan in place, things can still go awry. So we want to make sure that we have thought about this decision, we've taken a look at the advantages and the disadvantages, and then we're ready to make a decision. And when we make that decision, we also have to understand that it's going to take a very, very big effort from you in order to get your business going in the direction that you wanted to go. So it's not just about making the decision, just about stepping out on faith. Once you make that decision, then you have to really practice your faith. You got to really get down and into the trenches to make your business be what you want it to be. Because the one thing that I can promise you is it won't just do it on its own. This business won't grow itself. It all depends on what you are willing to put into it. And if you're willing to put in the work, you can definitely grow your business into whatever you want to grow it into. But it's definitely going to take work. It's definitely going to take commitment and sacrifice from you. And when you're ready to do that, after you've thought about it and you've taken a good long look at it, then you may be ready to execute. But don't just make a decision based off of something emotional. You've gotten upset with the employer and now you're saying, hey, I'm going to walk off the job and go and build a business that I've always wanted to build. That's courageous, that's brave, but that also can be a little bit foolish because there are so many other things that you need to consider. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. So now, one of the first things that I think you should consider when you're getting ready to start a business is, what is your mortgage payment? And you might say, why would you worry about your mortgage payment? Well, very simple. Because I have a certain amount of overhead, and usually the biggest part of your overhead is going to come from your mortgage or come from your rent if you're renting. So you want to look at your mortgage or your rent payment to say, how much am I paying, and can I see myself being able to afford this type of payment and build a business at the same time? Because what we have to understand is the business is going to require some of that money as well. That business is not, you're not going to be able to run it for free. Yes, a freight broker business, you're going to be able to have a very little overhead to run and operate your business, but still it's going to cost you something to operate that business. And usually with a freight broker business, when you first start out, we're talking $700 to about $1,100, depends on what type of systems you have in place. We, of course, recommend that you stay with very basic systems to start out with for that very reason. So you can keep a lot of that money in your pocket, let your business start to get that momentum, start to making money first, and then you can, look at adding some things at that point. But we want to make sure we're taking a look at that mortgage. For me, in my situation, my mortgage was about $1,900 when I first started looking at the option of starting my business. And what I looked at and said, hey, there's no way that I can go home, quit my job, and then have to deal with a $1,900 payment and build my business. So I said to myself, hey, I got to do something about this $1,900 mortgage. So what I decided to do was say, hey, I'm going to take a couple of years here and I'm going to go all in on bringing this mortgage payment down. And what I did was went out and paid a lot of money on my principal, and then I refinanced my mortgage. So I went from a $1,900 mortgage to a $900 mortgage. So now when you have a $900 mortgage or $900 rent and you're trying to build a business, that's completely different than having a $2,000 mortgage and trying to build a business. That's gonna put a whole lot of additional pressure on you because you're having to spend so much money on your mortgage or your rent. So take a look at your mortgage, take a look at your rent, and then try to figure out, how can I decrease this amount? If you're already at a good amount and you feel like, hey, I got enough money coming in, I've saved enough money, then you may be good to go. But I would highly, highly suggest taking a look at the mortgage, taking a look at the rent, and seeing how you can decrease that cost. All right, the next thing that I want to talk to you about that you definitely should consider is getting rid of your car payments. Now, usually this is where most people are gonna jump off the boat. They're gonna say, hey, Brandon, all of that stuff you talk about, it sounds good, it briefs well, but I'm not getting rid of my car. That's my baby. And I get it, I understand that. I was in that same situation. I like cars, I'm a car guy. But at the same time, I had to realize that it was either I was gonna sacrifice wealth for a car, or I was gonna say, no, you know what? A car is not that important. I would rather build wealth. I would rather build a business. So I'm gonna get rid of the car payments right now so it'll give me more room. I'll be more comfortable with building my business because I don't have to worry about that $500 car payment that I have, because the average new car payment is $550. So when we look at that, that's $550 every month that's going out of the window. Well, just take a look at this. What if I said, hey, I'm not gonna do that any longer. I'm gonna go out and buy me a car for $5,000 and I'm gonna drive that car without a car payment. That's exactly what I did. I have a Ford Explorer Sport Track, 2006. I paid $5,500 for it. I don't pay a payment on it, and I get to drive it just like you drive your car. Gets me from point A to point B, don't have any problems with it. And if I want to take a long trip, what I do then is I go out and I rent a car, or I might fly instead of driving. But the bottom line is I don't have a car payment that I have to be tied to every single month. Because what we have to understand is overhead is definitely going to take away from your business. If you got $550 that you're paying out every month, that's money that you could be putting into your business. That's money that you could be using for your mortgage. Bottom line is we want to save as much money as we can. Stop spending unnecessary money so that we can build a business without having to worry about all of the costs that, come with it. So focus your time, your energy on getting your costs down. Look at where you are right now. If you have car payments, consider trying to get the car paid off, or trading it in if you have too much to pay on it. Excuse me, not trading it in, selling it. And that way it leaves you more money to put into your business or to put into things that help you build wealth instead of taking away from your wealth. So the last thing that I want to share with you that I think you should consider before quitting your job, and that is making sure that you have at least 6 months and even better, 12 months of expenses on hand. Meaning you go out and save 12 months of your expenses before you ever quit your job. Now, what I mean by that is if you have $5,000 in overall expenses that you're spending in order to, maintain your lifestyle every month, where your mortgage, your car note, your insurance, everything adds up, let's say it's $5,000. Well, if you save 6 months, of course, you got $30,000 on hand. If you save 12 months, then you have $60,000 on hand. Now, that would basically say, hey, if anything happens where I'm not making money for a period of 6 months or for a period of 1 year, I know I have this money already set aside to take care of my household expenses. That's going to give you the comfort to be able to build your business in those hard times. Because when you first start your business, you're very likely not going to be making a whole lot of money. The whole idea here is to get the business to the point where, number one, it can pay for its own expenses, and then number two, it can start to pay for your expenses. But it's gonna take some time to get to that point. That's why we wanna make sure that we're saving up at least 6 months, but even better, 12 months of expenses. Now, everybody can't get to that 12-month period. If you can do 6 months, of course, not as good as 12 months, but it's gonna give you some, leeway there if things don't come together as fast as you think they should. Now, the other side of that, you may not need 12 months of expenses if you have a working spouse, because then the spouse can help make up the difference. Now, the important thing, though, is to make sure that you've explained that situation to the spouse. They understand what the vision is, and then your spouse can be on board with your plan. But now make sure that you don't overpromise and underdeliver. Because what we usually do is we get really excited about the business. We have all of these great thoughts in our mind, and we start telling the spouse, you know, we're getting ready to make all of this money. And then 6 months, 8 months have passed and nothing has happened. The spouse is still working. They're believing in you, but they're not seeing anything. So they start wondering, hey, is this really gonna happen? So we want to make sure that we're not making these big promises. Oh, I'm going to make $1 million over the next year. No, put it into reality. Keep things in a way that makes sense, that the spouse can actually digest. $1 million when you haven't made a dime yet doesn't really pass the common sense test. So make a goal that you can actually achieve. Not saying that you couldn't achieve $1 million, but the likelihood of achieving $1 million in the first year is very, very unlikely. So make goals that you can realize. So now that's the information that I wanted to share with you today. I hope this information has been helpful. One last thing that I want to leave you with is act on your own initiative and take full responsibility for your actions. Don't do something just because someone else says to do it. Do it because you believe in it. Do it because you know it's right for you. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.